In today's video, I'm going to be adding another Titan to my collection. Not like these glorious Imperial Titans, but I've actually managed to get my hands on a Chaos Warhound Titan, and I'm going to be pinning it up to match my Death Guard. I'm very excited for this one. Okay, I built this Titan over the course of a couple of different streams over on Twitch. Had a lot of fun doing that and had a lot of guff given to me by my community for the fact that I never pinned anything in constructing this Titan. There isn't a single pin. It is just super glue, hopes and dreams. But that's how all my Titans went together, so none of them are broken so far. I presume it's going to be okay. If it's not okay, I'm going to have a lot of people saying, I told you so. So I'm going to hope the fact that that's not going to happen. Now, all of the panels that can be left off are, of course, left off for ease of painting. But there are certain panels that are built into the model. Some built into the legs, the toes, and then lots of parts on the gun. So I did have to do a little bit of taping on those. And then after that was done, I could go in with the airbrushing. I'm going to be going in with my standard Death Guard armor paint scheme so that it does match in with my Death Guard army. That's why I'm going to be doing it as a big Nurgle Titan and having a lot of fun with it in that respect. It's quite an interesting thing. I didn't plan on getting a Chaos Titan. A friend of mine messaged me and said that there is a Titan up on Facebook Marketplace. The guy is looking to trade some Imperial Titan or some Imperial tanks for it. And I managed to jump on and be the kind of winning bidder. So it only cost me 3 Imperial Guard tanks and I managed to get a Chaos Warhound Titan. So I did very well in this transaction. And this was only, I'd say, 2 or 3 weeks ago that I got my hands on it. And it's one of those things where it could have sat in my cupboard for years because it wasn't part of any plan. I didn't know what to do with it. But I decided with the finish it February mentality going on currently in the hobby space that I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to get this thing pulled out. I'm going to get it built. I'm going to have a little bit of fun and I'm going to get it painted up. So that's what I'm doing. Here is that beautiful yellow ink which I throw across the top of my pallid green, which really does bring that green to life. It makes it like that toxic look to it. I really do love how it looks. It definitely pushes my Nurgle models to the next level. Of course, when that was all said and done, I was able to remove the tape, revealing some fairly neat and tidy lines before we moved on to the kind of next steps with getting this beautiful thing painted up. It does take a little bit of time. There is a lot of steps to do, and some of the steps do take a long time because it is such a big model. And of course, the most time-consuming part is this. It is after the green has been done to this stage, and it's time to go in and get a base coat on all the metallic trim. It's like painting a Chaos Space Marine. Nobody really enjoys blocking in all the trim color, and on a Titan there is a lot of trim color. This took hours of time to go around carefully with a fine pointed brush, some Balthazar gold, and a good TV show on in the background, and I just painted away. Yeah, it's time consuming, but you do want to make sure you get it done and make sure it's nice and neat and tidy. It will make a really big difference to the final result of painting this awesome piece. Okay, and after a long period of time, we do have all the base coats on the metallics done and ready to go. Now, the kind of under frame of the Titan is done in silver. Now, how I did that is when I was spraying the miniature, sprayed it black, and then I dusted the legs with silver. Very simple step. But in order to kind of make it look a little bit more grimy, I'm going in with the airbrush again with some Agrax Earthshade. I'm just kind of, I don't know what's the correct word. I'm just kind of splattering a little bit of it here and there. I'm not trying to get like a pure coat. I'm just trying to grime it up. This is obviously important because I will be now going in with Agrax Earthshade and having to shade over all of those gold trim parts that I did across the model again. So once again, we're going to have to spend some serious amount of time getting in and getting that done. You will notice that the interior of the Titan is not going to be painted in this video. My plan is to make that a Patreon exclusive video, so that will be available to all Patreon members and all channel members. They do get an extra video every single week, as well as access to a private Discord server where they can hang out with me on a daily basis, talk about their hobby, and take part in all the different events that we have going on over there. So if you want to take part in that, hang out in the Discord, and of course get an extra video every single week. Like I said, check out becoming a channel member on Patreon, on YouTube, or a Patreon member. All that is linked down below. Obviously, we are now shading the rest of that trim, and it is going to take a little bit of time, but when it's done, it will look like this. Now, this is one of the kind of funner, also a little bit more nerve-wracking stages that I decided to do on this Titan, is I decided to go and break out the rust paint. And my plan was simple, or at least I thought it was going to be simple, and you can be the judge as to whether or not it worked or not. So I decided to fill in all the pockmarks and all the dents and all the cracks and all that stuff that exists across the hull of the Chaos Titan. Because all of these bits exist on the Chaos Titan, I always felt like Nurgle colors suited it more, or the most, so that's what I decided to go for. Now, like I said, I'm going to fill in all these pools with this rust paint. If you don't know how this rust works, I did a whole video based on doing that. And one of the things that I learned was it gets reactivated with water. So my plan was, like I said, to fill in all those different areas with that. And then when that was finished, I was going to come back in with a little bit of water, reactivate the rust, and drag it in a downwards motion just to give the idea of the kind of streaking of the old rust pools and all the grime and all that kind of stuff. But it will take a little bit of time because, like I said, it is quite a pockmark and dented thing. So I am going to take my time now and try and find every single mark and dent across this Titan, whether it be an armor panel or whether it be the entire underframe, and get that all done really carefully. And now it is that water time. So as you can see, I've just squirted a little bit of water onto the cutting mat in front of me. And I'm just using a brush, dipping it in so I'm not kind of oversaturating the piece with water. As you can see, I'm kind of dabbing the area with water until it reactivates, and then just dragging some of that rust paint down in a downward motion to give that kind of dripping, oozing, gross look that lots of Nurgle vehicles and stuff will have, making it look a little bit more rough. When this was done, then I get to add a little bit of chipping to that, and that's where I'm going to go in with a little bit of lead belcher paint, and I'm going to dry brush the entire thing. Every single piece of this model will get dry brushed with silver now. It'll catch all the edges of all those nice metallic detail, but it will also add a little bit to the chipping and the weathering and all that kind of stuff. It looks really good. And because we added that Agrax Earthshade to the framework previously, when we dry brush over that, it's going to make all those bits pop as well, and it's going to add to the effect. This is obviously the most detailed panel on the whole Titan, and it did take the most amount of time to done. But when you look down on the tabletop and see the big crazy Chaos Star embossed across the top of it, you know you've taken your time to make it pop and look really good. It does feel awesome. Obviously, I did no work on the backs of these armor panels, so before I glue them into place on the Titan, I decided to just go in with a matte black spray and just tidy them all up, just so if you do end up peeking behind a panel or something, you're not going to see the resin left behind. You're going to see a nice tidy black coat of paint. Now, in order to make the plasma coils work, I'm going to do it exactly the way I've done for the other Death Guard things that I've painted, and also for some of my Krieg stuff and that, and I'm going to go for orange plasma. I learned this over on Squidmar when they were painting their Titan, so I do a kind of quicker version of it, but the orange is an undercoat of red. Very simple to do. Then you go in and airbrush it in white. And then I use Intensity ink from Green Stuff World over the top of that, and it does give you this glorious glowy orange effect. The trick is to overshoot a little bit with the white, hit the edges around the coils and stuff, And then when you do the orange, make sure you go over and do the same thing with that. Overshoot a little bit. That will give it that glowing effect. I've done it on the edge of the barrels and stuff as well. At this stage, I was almost finished with the armor panels, but I did decide to go one step further, kill myself once again on the third day of painting this thing. This was supposed to be a 2-day job, and this is me late into the third day getting it done. And I decided to add the oxidation to all of the models, all the trim, every single bit of brass, every broken bit of armor. I'm going to feed a bit of oxidation into that. It's just going to add an extra pop of color, make it really kind of stand out and come off the table. Obviously the legs are now in place. This is before I did the oxidation on them, but I did glue all the armor panels on. It's starting to come together now. It's kind of coming into that real like final stages, and I'm very excited for it. Not forgetting, of course, the awesome Titan head that exists on this model, taking my time with that. I even went to the trouble of cutting out some old blister packaging and filling that in the behind the eye lenses, because there is no eye lenses on this really old model. So if you didn't bother putting them in, then you would just see straight into the Titan's head, which is not what I want to do. I wanted to put that little bit of extra effort in. So like I said, cut out some plastic strips, super glued them in behind them, and I am going to go in with some airbrush and add a glow effect to those eyes as well. I'm going to do it the same style as the plasma coils I did for the Titan, just so it blends in and they match each other. So like I said, tiny bit of white just across those areas. And I'm only going for the center with the airbrush. Obviously it's a little bit hard to control, but you get the idea. I want to leave this the kind of the eyeliner around the lens, if you will, a little bit darker. So just a line down the middle. And then with the intensity orange ink again, sprayed over the top of that, you will get this really nice effect. I'm really glad that I went to the extra effort of doing this with the eyes, because it really is adding that extra pop of color to the head of the Titan, which obviously is quite important. It's a focal part of the model, and it's something that a lot of people will be staring at when they're looking at the finished Titan on the table. It was now time to add a copious amount of super glue into the joint, and then literally just feed the Titan into it, making sure that it was positioned where I wanted it to be and it was secure, and then left it alone until that set. So I gave it a full 10-15 minutes for that super glue to fully set, and now those weapons are stuck in place and ready. Obviously, there's a few extra steps with the Chaos Titans. These are these awesome kind of bone spikes which protrude through the armor. I decided not to glue them on at the beginning of the building process, because I felt like I would have just accidentally snapped them off. So I just glued them into place now. I'm going to throw some brown paint over them with a brush, and then I'm just going to dry brush them kind of a dark khaki and then a bone color, just to make them look like bone protrusions coming out of the Titan, and just adding that extra bit of flair. I really like them. Okay, and with that done, that's pretty much the entire Titan ready. I'm going to once again add a copious amount of super glue around the waist joint, and then hold the Titan in place, finish it off, and then from here we'll go on to a reveal of what the Titan finally looks like, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And there we have it, a Chaos Nurgle Titan ready to serve alongside my Death Guard. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like, ask me any questions you have in the comments below, and make sure you're subscribed. These 3 things cost you nothing to make a huge difference as to how many people get to see the videos. So please do it. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I'll see you in the next one.